When I first started, people think my biggest challenge was money. No. My biggest challenge was my friends, not enemies, friends. The people I sat with, laughed with, shared dreams with. I didn't realize that sometimes the people you love can be the ones slowing your climb, not because they hate you, but because they don't believe in movement. They don't believe in possibility. They love the comfort of staying the same. And when you walk next to people who refuse to walk, eventually you stop moving too. I used to think loyalty meant holding everyone's hand forever. It sounds nice, it sounds noble, but life is not just about being nice. Life is about becoming who you are capable of becoming. And what I learned, painfully, is that you cannot pull someone who is committed to standing still. They will pull you down much faster than you can lift them up. Success is not personal revenge. Success is mathematics. If 5 people talk about dreams and 1 person talks about excuses every day, eventually 4 dreamers become 5 excuse makers. This is why people say, show me your friends and I will show you your future. It's not philosophy, it's physics. I remember many nights when I sat with friends who only complained. They said life is unfair, government is unfair, rich people are lucky. They spend hours talking, 0 minutes acting. And slowly I started thinking the same way. You don't wake up lazy one day. You get influenced drop by drop. You absorb doubt. You adopt fear. You catch laziness like a cold from the people who sneeze excuses. If you sit in a room full of smokers long enough, you will smell like smoke. If you sit with losers long enough, you start thinking losing is normal. That was my wake-up call. I decided to walk away, not with anger, with awareness. I simply realized I cannot carry someone who refuses to walk. If they don't want to change, then my staying is not kindness. It is self-betrayal. I had to choose, protect their comfort or protect my future. Real leadership is not only saying yes. Sometimes leadership says no. Sometimes leadership closes a door to open a life. It hurts in the beginning. People accuse you of arrogance, selfishness, forgetting where you came from. But remember, discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. If you don't guard your environment will destroy your dreams. Quietly, politely, slowly, like rust eating steel. The world remembers doers, not talkers. If you want to fly, do not walk with people who are afraid of the sky. Cut the dead weight before it cuts your wings. This is not cruelty, this is survival. This is clarity. A seed cannot grow in poisoned soil. Your life cannot grow in the wrong company. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is leave. When people hear advice like fire your loser friends, they think it means becoming cruel or arrogant. But let me tell you something I learned very painfully. Comfort is the most dangerous enemy of growth. Not failure, not poverty, comfort. When you sit with people who are comfortable staying small, you slowly learn to shrink yourself so nobody feels offended. You learn to lower your voice so nobody feels threatened. You stop dreaming loudly because you don't want to make others feel bad, and that slow, silent shrinking, that is how dreams die. In my early days, many of my friends were kind, funny, good people, but they were comfortable. They didn't want to improve, because improvement means risk. It means discomfort. It means looking at yourself honestly. Many people would rather stay average than feel uncomfortable. And slowly I realized something. When you choose comfort, you choose a quiet life of regret later. We don't notice the cost of comfort in the moment. It doesn't hurt immediately. It's like sitting in warm water. Slowly the temperature rises, and by the time you realize it's boiling, it's too late. I remember sitting with friends who always said, "Why are you trying so hard?" Relax. Enjoy life. I thought they were supporting me, protecting me from failure. But later I understood they weren't protecting me from failure. They were protecting themselves from my success. Because your growth shows people their stagnation. Your ambition reminds them that they stop trying, so they will gently, softly, kindly try to keep you at their level. They don't need to attack you. Comfort does the job. The world only remembers doers, not talkers. But when you sit around talkers long enough, talking feels enough. Comfort steals your hunger. It steals your courage. It gives you a soft pillow, not a sharp mission. And once you become comfortable with excuses, you forget the taste of ambition. Discipline is uncomfortable, but it is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. Every time you choose comfort over growth, you pay with your future. You lose a little fire, a little hunger, a little belief. Bit by bit, you trade greatness for good enough. Leaving comfortable friendships is painful. You feel guilty. You feel lonely. You feel confused. But loneliness in the pursuit of growth is temporary. Regret from living small is forever. When you break out of comfort, you don't just change your life. You change your identity. You rise from someone who tries to fit in to someone who builds their own path. And one day, the same people who told you to relax will ask how you did it. This is why you must choose ambition over comfort now. Don't stay where you feel safe. Stay where you feel challenged. Because comfort destroys more dreams than failure ever will. People misunderstand friendship. They think it is only about loyalty, comfort, and memories. But real friendship, the kind that shapes destinies, is also about direction, discipline, and mutual elevation. When I was young, I believed every friend should stay in my life forever. I thought the measure of loyalty was how long you held on. But with time, I learned a harder truth. Holding on to the wrong people is not loyalty, it is emotional laziness. Friendship is not a museum for memories. It is a team for your future. And every team either wins together or loses together. In business, we evaluate partnerships. We ask, what value are we creating? Are we aligned? Are we both growing? But in life, we rarely ask the same. We stay close to people who drain our energy and call it loyalty. We allow excuses and negative stories to fill our mind and call it friendship. Yet, if a business partner refused to work, refused to improve, refused to believe, you would let them go. So why don't we do this in our personal lives? Because we fear hurting feelings more than we fear losing our future. But understand this, if a relationship is costing you your potential, the bill is too high. When I started building my dreams, I began noticing patterns. Some friends pushed me, questioned me, challenged me, not to discourage, but to sharpen me. They said, try again when things failed. They said, think bigger when I stayed small. Being around them felt difficult sometimes, but in a good way, like lifting heavy weights makes you stronger. Other friends, however, were experts in sympathy, not progress. They offered comfort, not direction. They had opinions about everything and discipline for nothing. And slowly I realized, the friends who comfort your excuses are more dangerous than the enemies who attack your plans. So I created a rule for myself, and it changed my life. Every relationship must help you move forward, or you must let go respectfully. Not angrily, not dramatically, quietly, politely, but firmly. You don't need friends who clap for excuses. You need friends who demand accountability. You need friends who look at you and say, I believe in you, but belief without action is nothing. Let's build. This is not being cold. This is being intentional. Dreams are fragile in the beginning. You cannot protect your dream if you do not protect your environment. And here is a simple truth. Many people deny you cannot rise while holding hands with someone committed to staying down. If you grow, they feel threatened. If you stay small, you betray yourself. So choose wisely. Friendship should be a source of discipline, not decay. You deserve people who stretch your mind, not shrink your ambition. You deserve allies, not anchors. You deserve relationships that push you toward your future, not pull you back into your past. Treat your life like a business. Evaluate your partnerships. Because success is never a solo journey, but it is always a selective one. People think success comes from big decisions. No, success comes from tiny decisions repeated every day, and those tiny decisions are shaped by the people around you. You don't notice it in the beginning. It starts quietly. Your friend sleeps late, and suddenly you sleep late too. They say, why are you reading? Just relax. And slowly you pick up your phone instead of the book. They laugh at people who chase success, and you start hiding your dreams to avoid feeling too serious. You don't become average overnight. You catch average like a virus. When I was younger, I thought I was strong enough to resist influence. I believed I could keep my habits even if my environment was weak. But I learned the truth. The hard way, environment beats motivation every time. If 5 people around you are disciplined, you will feel embarrassed to be lazy. But if 5 people around you are lazy, you will feel foolish to be disciplined. Humans copy the energy around them. We imitate tone, ambition, urgency, or the lack of it. This is why people say, show me your friends and I will show you your future. Not as poetry, but as a warning. I remember working late nights when everyone thought it was foolish. Some friends used to mock me, saying, why work so hard? Life is short. But life isn't short. People just waste most of it. And one day, I looked in the mirror and asked myself, am I becoming who I want to be? Or am I becoming who they are comfortable with? That question shook me because I realized my habits were changing. My hunger was fading. Their comfort was becoming my comfort. And I knew if I didn't change my circle, I would lose everything I dreamed of. Quietly, slowly, forever. Now think about this. Winners ask questions like, how do I improve? Losers ask, why bother? Winners talk about solutions. Losers talk about problems. Winners read books. Losers scroll endlessly. Winners learn from failure. Losers hide from effort. When you sit with winners, your standards rise. When you sit with losers, your standards fall. Not because you are weak, but because you are human. Discipline is contagious. So is laziness. Courage spreads. So does fear. That is the hidden cost of keeping the wrong company. You absorb their life before you notice it. So if you want to change your life, don't start with motivation. Start with environment. Replace people who encourage excuses with people who demand excellence. Replace gossip with strategy, complaints with creativity, comfort with growth. The world only remembers doers, not talkers. Surround yourself with doers, because your habits create your future, and your friends create your habits. If you want a new life, you need a new circle. Don't wait until your fire dies to realize who was pouring water on it. Protect your ambition like oxygen. Protect your habits like treasure. Choose people who pull you forward, not pull you asleep. When you begin to change your circle, do not expect applause. People think progress is celebrated. No. Progress is resisted first. When I chose to distance myself from people who loved excuses, I wasn't met with understanding. I was met with guilt trips, with cold looks, with whispers. He thinks he's better than us now. In those moments, you start to question yourself. You feel selfish. You feel cruel. But listen carefully. When you refuse to accept limitations, you expose the ones who still do. And they don't get angry because you hurt them. They get angry because you remind them of what they could be, but chose not to. Many years ago, when I told my early group of friends that I wanted to build something meaningful, they laughed. They said, just be realistic. When I started to distance myself, they said I was abandoning them. I felt guilty. I didn't want to disappoint anyone. But then I realized something powerful. People who love you will cheer when you grow, not guilt trip you for trying. If someone feels threatened by your elevation, they were never committed to your potential, only your familiarity. And comfort breeds possessiveness. They don't want to lose you, not because they believe in your future, but because they fear being left behind in their present. Rejection is not punishment. Rejection is revelation. When you start leveling up, people's reactions become a mirror. The ones who cheer reflect your future. The ones who attack reflect your past. When someone says, you've changed, don't panic. Say, yes, I worked hard for that. Staying the same to make other people comfortable is not loyalty. It is self-betrayal. Remember, discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. If you discipline your environment will discipline your life. And sometimes the most disciplined thing you can do is walk away from the noise and toward your clarity. I still remember the sting of those early accusations, selfish, arrogant, ungrateful, painful words. But later I realized those were not insults. They were confessions. They were afraid that if I succeeded, they would have no excuses left, afraid that their stories about impossible would collapse. And this is the truth many never admit. Your ambition is a mirror. Your growth forces people to confront their stagnation. Your courage exposes their comfort. They will say you abandoned them, but what they won't admit is they abandoned growth long before you ever left. Cutting ties or setting boundaries is not cold. It is ethical. When you refuse to stay in a circle of excuses, you become proof that change is possible. And not everyone wants that proof, because possibility is heavy. It demands action. Rejection is not a sign you're wrong. It is a sign you're evolving beyond someone's comfort zone. Let them say you changed. Let them say you think differently. Growth always offends those who stop growing. The world only remembers doers, not talkers. Don't sacrifice your future to protect someone's fear. When you stop tolerating limitations, you don't lose friends. You reveal them. Most people celebrate success when it happens, but they never see the quiet weight a person carries before it arrives. They clap for the trophy, but they never clap for the years you spent alone training in the dark. When I started, everyone thought success was about intelligence, or connections, or luck. But I learned something much simpler and also much harder. Success belongs to the person who is willing to suffer longer than everyone else. When the office lights turned off, I stayed. When my friends went out, I studied. When others wanted to look successful, I wanted to be successful. There were nights when silence felt heavy. So heavy I wondered if I was wasting my life. I questioned myself. I doubted my vision. I even considered quitting, because sometimes giving up feels easier than holding on. People say success is about motivation. They are wrong. Motivation fades. Excitement disappears. Inspiration comes and goes. But discipline, quiet, unglamorous, stubborn discipline, stays. Every morning I woke up tired, but I moved anyway. Every night I felt defeated, but I prepared for the next day anyway. Every rejection made me question my worth, but I showed up anyway. Not because I always believed I would win, but because quitting felt like disrespecting my future self. Remember this, the world rewards consistency, not intensity. Anyone can work hard for a day. Anyone can stay motivated for a week. But greatness comes from the person who shows up after motivation dies. And while others waited for someone to notice them, I worked until they couldn't ignore me. You don't need applause now. You don't need validation today. You don't need everyone to understand your vision. One day, the same people who doubt you will rewrite history and say they always believed in you. Let them doubt you now. It's free fuel. Let silence be your training ground. Let struggle be your teacher. Let time prove you right. Because when preparation meets opportunity, people call it luck. But you and I know the truth. Greatness is built in private, long before the world sees it in public. And your time is coming. Keep going. Every journey has a breaking point, a moment where life pushes you so hard that you either collapse or transform. For me, that moment wasn't dramatic. No big stage, no cameras, no applause. It was a quiet evening, office empty, my body tired, my spirit exhausted. I stared at my desk and whispered to myself, maybe they were right, maybe I am foolish. But then something inside me answered. Not loud, not emotional, just steady. If you quit now, you'll spend the rest of your life wondering who you could have been. That sentence changed everything. People think breakthroughs happen suddenly, but they don't. Breakthroughs happen after countless days where nothing seems to work. And then one day, the opportunity arrives. One call, one connection, one yes after 1,000 no's. And the world thinks you became successful overnight, but only you know the truth. You earned it when nobody was watching. When people laughed at you, you kept going. When you doubted yourself, you still showed up. When life pushed you to the edge, you pushed back. You didn't win because it was easy. You won because you refused to surrender. And here is the part most people don't understand. The world does not reward potential. It rewards proof. And silence is where you build that proof. Silence teaches you patience. Silence strengthens your character. Silence forces you to rely on discipline, not applause. While others chase attention, you chase mastery. While they build a life to impress people, you build a life to become someone powerful. And eventually, without warning, your work breaks through the surface. People will say you're lucky. People will say you changed. People will say they knew you'd succeed, but they didn't see the dark nights. They didn't feel the fear. They didn't hear the doubts you fought alone. You did. You survived every silent battle. And that's why you deserve what's coming. Because real success is not loud. It whispers first. When you start winning, something strange happens. You don't even have to cut people off anymore. Success does it for you. The moment you rise, the ones who secretly doubted you begin to distance themselves. Not because you changed, but because your growth exposes their stagnation. Your discipline embarrasses their excuses. Your progress forces them to confront the truth. They never believed in you. They just felt comfortable when you were losing. This is where many people get emotional. They chase old friendships, try to bring everyone along, try to convince the doubters. Don't. That's the trap. Growth isn't just about winning. It's about shedding everything that cannot grow with you. The friends who once laughed will suddenly say, "You're different now. You think you're better than us." They will try to guilt you, box you in, hold you down because it makes them feel safe. Understand this, you didn't leave them. They left you the moment they chose comfort over evolution. The sad reality, some people loved you only when you were small. They loved the version of you that needed them, not the version that outgrew them. So let them talk. Let them assume. Let them stay in the same cycle, the same habits, the same mindset. You don't owe explanations. You don't owe nostalgia. You don't owe anyone your potential. Success is silent revenge. The moment you level up, the noise begins. Jealousy, insecurity, rumors, distance. But don't look back. Don't argue. Don't shrink to make others comfortable. Because your future has no space for past-minded people. Your destiny doesn't negotiate with mediocrity. Stand firm. Grow boldly. Let your achievements be the goodbye. And remember, true loyalty never fears your success. It celebrates it. Everyone else, they were never friends, only camouflage. People always ask me, "Jack, what's the hardest part of success?" They expect me to say, raising money, competing with giants, learning new skills. They are wrong. The hardest part is outgrowing the people you once loved and walking through the gate alone. There is a gate every successful person must pass through, and this gate is narrow, so narrow that not everyone will fit beside you. You will try to take people with you, old friends, childhood buddies, the ones who had your back. But ambition is heavy, and some people prefer comfort over growth. Eventually you realize you can save your future or save your friendships, but not both. I remember sitting in tiny meetings where nobody believed in my vision. Friends told me, "Jack, stop dreaming. Get a normal job. Don't embarrass yourself." In that moment, I had a choice. Follow their safe path or follow my own risky one. If I had listened to them, Alibaba wouldn't exist. And I would be another man blaming life instead of building one. Understand this truth. Not everyone who starts with you is meant to finish with you. Some people are chapters, not the whole book. Their role was to push you, trigger you, doubt you, motivate you through pain, and then exit your story. When they leave, don't chase. When they doubt you, don't argue. When they expect you to stay small, don't shrink yourself. Evolve past them. Success demands clarity. Who feeds your fire? Who kills your ambition? Who slows your momentum? You don't have to hate anyone. Just love your purpose enough to protect it from the wrong company. The price of greatness is solitude. But on the other side of that gate, you meet the people who belong to your future, not your past. And trust me, it is worth it. People love stories about Thomas Edison. They talk about his 1,000 failures. They talk about the light bulb, but few connect his story to the hidden truth about success. Your environment determines whether you survive those failures. Edison did not invent the light bulb alone. He surrounded himself with people who shared his obsession, believers and skeptics alike, who tested, measured, and refined tirelessly. He had no room for voices that whispered, "This will never work." Every failure could have crushed him, but he was in a space where doubt was data, not judgment. And that is the lesson most people miss. Genius is not born in isolation. Genius is forged in selective ecosystems. Imagine if Edison had kept company with friends who were comfortable in mediocrity, people who laughed at his hours, criticized his obsession, or insisted he just find a safe job. Could he have endured 1,000 failures? Absolutely not. Those friends would have drained his courage slowly, like invisible leeches. This is why cutting the wrong people from your life is not cruelty. It is survival. Your circle either fuels your genius or slowly smothers it. I saw this in my own life. In the early days of Alibaba, many laughed at the idea of building an internet company in China. Some friends told me to stop dreaming. Others said, why risk so much? I felt the weight of their doubts, but I realized that if I wanted to succeed, I could not carry those doubts with me. I needed believers, people who would challenge me, test my ideas, and push me to endure the hard days. Just like Edison, I curated my circle with ruthless care. Failure is a stepping stone, but only if your environment allows you to step forward again. Comforting friends who fear change will only become the stones that trip you. Do not misunderstand, this is not hatred, it is math, it is physics. Surround yourself with those who mirror your hunger, who reflect your courage, who insist you do not settle. Let everyone else stay behind. And when people call you cold for leaving others behind, remember Edison. Remember that the world only remembers doers, not talkers. Genius and success is not a product of kindness or loyalty alone. It is a product of selective survival. Your circle determines how high you can climb, and some will never climb with you. The lesson is simple. Protect your laboratory of growth, even if it means leaving familiar faces outside the door. And the whispers are already beginning for you. Stay quiet, stay disciplined, stay dangerous.